Hello everyone, my name is Mr. Nicholas Mutinda from Nairobi branch. We'll be continuing with organizational leadership. This is the second video which covers, we'll cover another 3 subtopics. In the first video we discussed the first 3 subtopics, the first 4 subtopics of organizational leadership. We talked about definition of leadership, we talked about leadership as management, we talked about leadership styles and theories of leadership. So in this video we are going to start about difference between power and authority. 6.5, power and authority. So what is the difference between power and authority? What is power? What is power? Now, take for instance, when you are talking about a class rep, then now, this class rep, probably you want to change lecturers, or probably you want to change class venues or time of class. And one of the students who is not a class rep is able to convince all the other students to agree to change classes from 11 to 1 to 3 to 5. And you find that the class rep is there, but they cannot be able to convince the students. Probably they are differing. The class rep prefers that the class remain the same from 11 to 1, but another student wants the class to change from 3 to 5. And now, in that context, you find almost 70% of the students agree or are convinced by this student for them to change class from 11 to 1, so that the class starts at 3 to 5. Now, in that context, we can be able to see the issue about power and the issue about authority. Look at it this way. In the organizational setup, you find that there is the departmental head. For instance, the human resource manager. But then, this department, for instance, has 20 employees. But you find that there is another influential employee who may be at the lowest level of the organization or at the lowest level of the department, but he is very influential. He can be able to convince his colleagues, and the colleagues defy the human resource manager. That is another context of power and authority. And when we are talking about power, we simply mean that as somebody who has ability to influence the beliefs and actions of other people. The student was able to influence the other students, to agree that they change classes from 11 to 3. The employee was able to convince his colleagues to defy the human resource manager. Even though the class rep is in authority, is in a higher position to give directions, is in a higher position to direct, is in a higher position to give authority, to allocate resources, he did not have the power. So when you're talking about power, is the ability of a person to influence the beliefs or actions of others. Authority, on the other hand, is the right given to a person to control others, to direct others, to allocate others. This is a position you are given to direct, to control, to allocate. Now, this topic is talking about difference and power. You can be in authority, but you lack the power. You can be out of authority, but you have the power. Now, as we will be discussing later on, we will see the sources of power. Because when you are an authority, that authority is supposed to give you a certain kind of power. But it is not automatic. You may be in authority, but you are not in a position to influence people. You are not in a position to influence the actions of people. So in that case, you find that you are the authority, but you don't have power. Now, why are we discussing this? Because you in authority, you as the human resource manager, you require a certain power to make things happen in the organization. And that's why you find that you may be in authority, but you don't have confidence of the people. You don't have confidence of the people, of your subordinates, of the people you are supervising. And you find that you are in problems. So, it is very essential for you to understand about power and authority. Because remember, you are training to be managers. And for you to be a manager, you need some power in order to make things happen. In order to influence the people that you are supervising. In order to influence people to adopt or to accept your decisions. To accept your processes. To accept the procedures that you have come up with. Now, we can probably look at differences between power and authority. Power and authority. Number one is that power comes from knowledge and experience. Comes from knowledge and experience. While authority is a formal right to take decisions. Formal right to take decisions. Number two is that power is the personal ability to control and personal ability. Personal ability to control and influence. While on the other hand, authority comes from rank and designation. Authority comes from rank, and designation. You are a human resource manager, you are a branch manager, you are the MD. You derive the power based on the position you are in. Number three is that the scope of power can be written down or explained because it is too broad. Power is too broad concept. Power is a broad concept. It's a broad concept. The scope of authority can be written down. The scope of authority can be written down. Can be written down and explained. Based on the duties and responsibilities that you have been given. You can be told your power ends here. You can allocate resources You can employ people, but you can't fire them. Can be written down based on the rules and the regulations, what you can do and what you cannot do. Power, it is not written. You can influence people. It is not written. Then lastly, is that authority is dependent on levels. Authority is dependent on levels. Dependent on levels. E.g. MD, human departmental head, and so on. Power is not dependent on levels and is broader in context. Power does not depend on level. You can see a very junior staff influencing all the people against the MD. Because it is not dependent, it's something that cannot be explained. It's something that cannot be explained. Now, we have talked about power. So what are the sources of power? What are the sources of power? Where do we get power from? What are the sources of power? Sources of power. When you talk about the power, where do you get that power from? Sources of power. Sources of power, and this is number one, is what we are calling position power. They have said position power. When you are talking about position power, you are in authority. You are the president. You are the MD. You derive some power because you can allocate resources. You can direct people. You can fire and hire. So that being in that position gives you some power. Gives you some power. So you can derive power from position because others have to obey what you say. Position power. Number two is what we call reward power. And when you're talking about reward power, we simply mean, are you able to give rewards? Are you able to give rewards? Huh? Are you controlling any resource? Because when you are controlling resources, when people know you can give them power, definitely they will come to you and you will be powerful. And this is whereby you find, especially the politicians, they can call somebody and tell them, kindly employ this person. And now you find that they are very powerful because they can reward. They can give handouts. They can give gifts. Because of that. Now, when you are able to give gifts, when you are able to allocate, you find yourself you are in power. Look at, for instance, in the police service. There are people who employ, we are told that the traffic is very lucrative because you get some few bribes here and there. Now, those guys who allocate those, you are going to go to traffic, you are going to go to and theft, you will find them, they are very powerful. Those guys who transfer the others to Mandera, to Wajir, to Machakos, to Kisumu, those guys because they are powerful because they reward. Another source of power is what we call charisma. Charisma. Do you have special skills? Special natural skills? Those guys who are good in oratory, they are very powerful. Who can be able to communicate effectively. They are very powerful because they are charismatic power. They can influence people based on their charisma, based on their selflessness, based on the sacrifice they are ready to offer, based on selling, on how they sell their ideas based on how they can see visions and convince the other people. Charisma. Another thing is what we call coercive. When you are talking about coercive, we are simply talking about force. You can force people to follow you. So if you are in a position to force other people, that's why you find when you have seen, probably when you are carjacked, probably when you are being you meet a thief. He has a knife you don't have. He can force you to sleep down with your own suit, with your full suit, because he's forcing. We see the police forcing people to kneel down. You are forcing people because there are consequences. You can force people to do a certain thing, and if they don't, you kill them. That is a power. We have seen people doing all manner of things because they are forcing people. Coercive what? Power. Number 5 is what we call experts. Power. Do you have some technical skill? You have some technical skill. You are powerful. You work in a building, and because you have done engineering, tell them, according to my opinion, this building will collapse in the next 1 hour or in the next 2 hours. You will see people running away. And nobody can question. You have said. A doctor tells you, don't do this. And you follow. Because his power, he has some knowledge, he has expertise. He has expertise. Then lastly is what we call association power. Association power. Association power. Have you seen secretaries? The secretary to the MD. He has some power. Association power. Because it's associated with the MD. So he can easily take your things, your issues to the MD. So he's powerful. That's why you see people when they meet celebrities, when they meet politicians, high politicians, people in authority, they would want for them to be photographed together. Because when they tell people, you know, najuana na fulani fulani, I know so and so, this is the photo. He gets some power because he knows you can push this thing. So association power, associated. If the secretary tells you, you will not be able to see the MD. My friend, you are done. You go to the MD, and the MD, the secretary gets, after you have left, the secretary gets in the MD's office and says, this guy is not good. Do you know what he did to me? He just banged the door. And that is the end. The things that you discuss with MD is ordination. Because there is an association. There is an association. Now, I think that is all what we can say about differences between power and authority. Differences between power and authority. So we'll move to the next subtopic, importance of power and authority. Importance of authority and power. So when we talk about importance of power and authority, what do we really mean? What is the importance of power? 6.6. Importance of power and authority. Now, it is very essential for managers to have both power and authority. Because as I explained earlier on, the manager is the ultimate authority. if you are talking about a department, is the ultimate authority for the department. He is in charge of that department. He is responsible for that department, and he will be required to explain for the performance of the department. Now, why is it essential for that manager to have power? He should be able to make things happen in the department. When he is making decisions, he should be able to influence the people he supervises to adopt those decisions. If you are talking about the manager has looked around and he has seen that some processes are not working, he should be able to come up with new processes and then convince his subordinates to adopt those processes, to adopt changes where applicable. Because failure to do that, there will be disharmony in the department. There should be disharmony in the department. So a manager should be able to have the right kind of power in order to make things happen in the department, in order to execute, control, to be able to discipline, and to be able to reward. Because without that, you will find that the organization, the department may not be working in tandem. Now, what is the purpose of that manager having authority? Because remember, when you are talking about authority, you have been given a responsibility. Now, you should be given a considerate authority to ensure that this responsibility are effected. If you are talking about allocation of resources, you are the head of the department. Though you should be able to allocate the resources. If you are talking about allocation of employees, allocation of labor in your department, you should be given that authority, because you find that employee X is good working in desk Y, employee B is good in working desk 2, employee Y Z is good in working desk 3. So since you are the ultimate responsibility, you will be questioned for their performance. You should be given authority for you to be able to allocate. You employee Y, you will be working in desk 2. You employee 3, you will be working in desk 3. You employee X, you will be working in the employee X. And you can be questioned for that, because you are the ultimate authority to explain for the performance of the department. If you are talking about allocation of resources, you should be able to hire. Supposing now you are the head of the department, but you don't have any say in the people whom you hire. So the human resource department hires you somebody who cannot be able to perform the duty. Yet when there is in performance, when there is inefficiency, you are the one being questioned. How will that work? How will that work? Supposing you are in authority but you don't have power. So what happens when a certain employee there, who is in a very junior position, he can be able to influence your employees to defy you, to defy your directives? What happens? So you find that there are two centers of power in the department. So you should be given power and authority. Should be given power and authority to ensure that things are working in tandem. To ensure that people are working in tandems. When you are talking about power, you should also be able to ensure that the power that you have, you don't misuse it, because it is not good. You don't sack people unnecessarily. You don't allocate resources unfairly simply because you have power or simply because you have authority. That is not the purpose of authority and power. So, if you are given a responsibility, if you are given duties, let the people above you also give you considerate power and considerate authority for you to be able to ensure that those duties and responsibilities are effected as required. Otherwise, you will be having problems. You will be having problems because there is no way you can effect things that you have no control of. Remember, power is like you having control of. Look at this way. There are some employees who are working under you, but they were brought by the MD. So, when they are reporting, they bypass you. You give them, this guy is going to work in desk 1, and that guy does not want to work in desk 1. So he calls the MD. And the MD instructs him to go to desk 3 where he requires. Now, what kind of arrangement is that? How will it be effective? Because you have been given duty, but you have not been given power to allocate the resources. You have not been given authority. An employee is defying, is not doing the right thing, but you don't have the authority to punish him. So what happens? You find things are going haywire, but you can't be able to control them. You can't be able to rectify them. And you find you are having problems because you can't solve those problems when you don't have authority and power. So it is very essential for you to have power and authority in order to be able to direct, allocate, give decisions, make decisions, and be responsible for the branch. And you also need to have power in order to make things happen in your department, in order to make things happen in your organization. Otherwise, you will not be able to perform. Otherwise, you will not be able to perform. Now, I think that is all about importance of power and authority. Now, we can go to what we call 6.7, principles and importance of delegation in management. 6.7. Principles and importance of delegation. In management. So what is delegation and why is it important? Is it important in the organization? Is it important in the organization? What are the principles of delegation? In a nutshell, delegation is very key in organization. A manager cannot be able to do everything in the organization. He has to delegate authority. He has to delegate power. He has to delegate responsibilities in order to ensure that the organization is working smoothly. So, having said that, what is the meaning of delegation? Delegation is simply a transferring power, authority, or responsibility to junior staff. Simply transferring power, authority, responsibility to junior staff, to other offices. Delegation is the process by which a manager assigns a portion of his total workload to others. It's the process by which a manager assigns a portion of his total workload to others. It is the process whereby a superior passes to a subordinate part of this or in authority decisions. Now, there is very one key thing about delegation. You delegate duties, you delegate workloads, but you don't delegate responsibility. That's why you see when the president has appointed ministers, the ministers are discharging those duties at the pleasure of the president. He is still responsible for them. That's why he is supposed to ensure that he employs the best. So when you delegate, you are still responsible for the organization. That's why you find if something happens in an organization, the MD will be questioned because he's the ultimate authority. This is the ultimate authority. Now, having talked about delegation, what are the principles of delegation? Principle number 1 is that the principle of result expected. Principle of result expected. So what are you expecting after delegation? What are the expectations? We expect efficiency and effectiveness by giving several people to do this. This guy, this is the person required, I'm the accountant, I'm required to sign all checks. But since I cannot be able to sign all checks and do the other things, so I delegate that authority to several other senior accountants in my organization. So what am I expecting? I'm expecting efficiency. There are certain expected results. There's an expected result at the end of delegation. Number 2 is principle of parity. Principle of parity. Or parity of authority and responsibility. And I've talked about this when we were discussing about power and authority. So when you're talking about principle of parity of authority and responsibility, you are simply saying that when your responsibility is delegated, there should also be accompanied by certain authority, commensurate authority. You can't be delegating me to do things, yet you don't give me some power. You have delegated that I supervise employees, but I don't have power to punish them. Definitely, I will not be effective. So, delegation of responsibility should be accompanied by delegation of authority. It should be accompanied. There should be parity. The responsibilities delegated and the authority delegated. Authority delegated. The other one is the principle of absolute responsibility. This I've talked about. We say it, the absolute responsibility still lies with you. You have delegated, but you are still questionable. Because if you are talking about the accountant, remember your JD, job description, says that you are in charge of payments. So if you delegate that to your senior accountants, ensure that they are doing the way they are expected, because at the end of it, you will be questioned. You can't delegate authority. You can't delegate authority. And then the other one, probably the last one, is the principle of authority level. And when you are talking about authority level, we're talking about you delegate only what you have. You can't delegate things that you do not have. You only delegate what you have. What is your authority level? And you can only delegate based on the framework of your duties or to your level. You can't delegate more than that, because you will be going now deviating, going towards outside your job description, outside your responsibility, outside what you are expected to do. So what is the importance of delegation? Importance of delegation. Number one, it enhances efficiency. Efficiency and effectiveness. We have talked about the accountant giving the authority, delegating signing of checks. That is increasing efficiency. It empowers development. When you delegate to employees, they can be able to train, to learn on how to do things. They can be able, when you delegate, remember you are training your employees, you are enhancing development of the employees so they can be able to learn, they can be able to upgrade their skills because you have delegated. Number 3 is motivation of employees. Since you require them to grow, since you have delegated some authority, they are always motivated. There is likelihood that they will be motivated. You are giving them extra responsibilities, which probably they are enjoying, which probably they are learning through. So there is motivation. There is motivation of the employees. Another thing is that it facilitates organizational growth. Facilitates organizational growth. Facilitates organizational growth. And you find that when you are talking about efficiency, when you are talking about efficiency and effectiveness, definitely it will lead to organizational growth, because people are working. You find that there is no bureaucracy. Things are moving in the way they are expected. It also leads to better coordination. Better coordination. Because you can't be in the office every day and every now and then. You can't be in every office. So when you delegate, you find that there is better coordination. You can be able to, you have given authority to several people. You have given, you have delegated to several people, and they can be able to work. They can be able to coordinate. Now, take for instance, if you are the one to sign checks, you are the one in charge of audits, you are the one in charge of financing. Let's say you are the department head in the finance and accounting department. You are in charge of accounting, you are in charge of auditing, you are in charge of finance. How can you be able to do all those functions? But when you delegate, you find that there is better coordination. Another thing which is very critical, it reduces workload for managers. It reduces workload for managers. You had all those things, but now you have the workload has been reduced because you have given other people. And then a very critical one, relationship between, enhances relationship. Relationship between superiors and junior. Superiors and subordinates. Can you imagine what happens when people see that you are delegating? They definitely like you, so you are able to establish a good relationship with your juniors when you delegate to them, when you give them an opportunity to learn, when you give them an opportunity to do more than what their job entails. You find that you are able to establish a good relationship, which goes a long way in ensuring that there is harmony in the work environment. Now, I think that is the end of chapter 6, organizational leadership. That is the end of organizational leadership. I want to remind you, kindly subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to my channel for more videos about practice of management. Subscribe. Kindly subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and bye.